Hello everyone, and welcome back to World of Warships Blitz with Terry. Today we'll be looking at two battles, and these two battles have something in common. And that is that the result is sort of determined by team play. In this first battle, I am in my Seattle, and it's a tier 10 game. And this battle is very much not about me, the first one at least, because I think I came out at the bottom of the team. This battle is about what my team's doing, and what the enemy team's doing or not doing. We are up against Midway, Yamato, Colombo, Goliath, Rhone, Halland and Gearing on Encounter, which is not an unusual map to have. Now, Encounter has a certain specialty such that 4 of your ships are going to spawn in your base, and the other 3 are going to spawn on a flank, but not on the same flank. So there's a sort of circular dynamic in here. So these 3 ships that you see up in the north here on our side are going to be mirrored by 3 ships on the enemy side in the south. So my first order of duty obviously is to stay with the Shimakaze and give AA support. Plus, if the carrier is scouting any destroyers early on, and I can take them under fire. And given that the enemy, at least one enemy destroyer is going to spawn on that flank position, and the carrier is scouting that flank, then we already know what's coming. Yep, there's the destroyer. So if you already know what's coming, and I can see that this is the Halland because of all the airplanes that are falling down and the fact that our carrier does not want to actually attack that thing. But he has spotted him, so we know the Halland is here, which means we also know that the other destroyer is not here. Yeah, he's actually spotted. And so we've got Goliath here as well, and by the looks of it, the Rhone. But Goliath is already going, and the Colombo is coming in as well. So we're starting to take Goliath under fire. Goliath does have torpedoes, so we need to stop here. Also, there's a Cristoforo Colombo, so obviously he's starting to shoot at me. Which is good. It's good for one reason, because it means he's not aware that there's a Shimakaze on my side, which might be able to drop some torpedoes on him. And I've also got the friendly Montana effectively holding the base here. So there come these are probably Halland torpedoes by the speed of them. I don't need no hydro to know that these are coming. And the Colombo doesn't want to come any closer because he's now coming under fire by a Montana and by a Seattle. And look at what the Goliath is doing. The Goliath is changing flanks because he notices that the team on our side is pushing through, whereas the enemy team, and they've already lost the destroyer on that side over there. So someone needs to stop these guys, which means we now have Halland, Rhone and Colombo on our side. And I'm once again taking fire from the Colombo, and there's the Halland. So immediately switching to the armor piercing, and Halland is going up against Shima, which should not be a fair fight for the Shima. And meanwhile, I'm doing AA support against the carrier, who decides to push into a Seattle and a Montana. And together we just take the Halland under fire and make sure that none of these planes come back. Just making sure I'm not taking the torpedoes. Montana is taking the torps. And Halland is disengaging, so Halland hasn't been able to push through because, you know, there is some support here. We are now just dealing with the enemy fighters, but we've got 3 ships on the enemy team being relatively inefficient on this flank. They would need to push much harder because there's Monty, Shima and myself and the carrier holding this side here, whereas our flank has gone through completely unopposed and is now dealing with the Goliath and that one battleship and the enemy carrier. But they have a triplet of destroyer cruiser battleship as well. And yeah, Colombo is already down half his hit points and cannot push any further. The carrier is obviously helping here as well, which as he should, because Colombo doesn't have the greatest AA. There's Halland, which does have AA, but once the Halland is spotted, I'm starting to take that thing under fire again. And just making sure that he's not pushing. So they have now lost... I think the Colombo just went down to... oh, and the Rhone also went down to Shima torps. Well done, Shima. That was a really good spread. Let's get 2 for 1. So this flank here has completely collapsed. The Vermont has taken out the enemy Yamato that has done base defense. And while we have lost our gearing to the enemy midway, they're now down by 4 kills. So now it's just a matter of, I know that the Holland is over there, so I'm just running both the radar and the hydro to give the Shima a little bit advanced warning. Yep, there come the Holland torpedoes, but they're just Holland torpedoes. They're not going to hurt as much. So taking 1 or 2 here is not a big issue. But I see the difference, right? See the difference. Our team has decisively pushed their flank in the north and in the northwest, and has broken through to the enemy capture circle. This has caused the Goliath to become relatively ineffective for a bit while he was changing flanks, and the same push on the other side hasn't worked because we've mounted a very successful defense here. And why have we been able to mount a successful defense here? Well, because we have been in defensive positions, because they haven't been able to capitalize on anything. They haven't been able to push through, and they haven't been decisive about it. And they can't be, right? You can't push into Montana, Seattle, and Carrier with a Christopher Colombo, because you'll be burned to the ground. The Holland couldn't really do much because, well, there was a Seattle around. So what are you going to do against the Seattle? And the Rhone has been relatively ineffective as well at this position. So while I haven't done an awful lot here, this has been a perfect example of this two-pronged action where one half of the team is guarding, it's just guarding one flank and holding, while the other part is pushing through decisively and wrapping things up and causing the enemy team to spread out and become ineffective and not be able to concentrate their fire effectively. So let's do a second one. I did say there were going to be 2. In this second battle, I'm playing in the Shores, the Tier 7 Soviet light cruiser. And the Shores is not quite a support cruiser as the American cruisers are, but still a relatively effective ship against most things. We are playing Bay of Storms and up against West Virginia, Nagato, Normandy, York, and Akatsuki. There are 2 bots on each team, so they don't count, but it is a Tier 7 battle. Now, what do I like about the Shores that makes it an effective support cruiser? The Shores is fast. The Shores got a lot of guns. She doesn't have the greatest amount of utility against, say, destroyers, so nothing like the American cruisers. But for a Tier 7 cruiser, she's pretty good. The guns are can be reasonably precise, and she's good at long-range support, and she's fast. Did I mention that she was fast? Can change positions. So 2 destroyers. One of them is going to spawn on this side. We don't know if it's the bot or if it's the non-bot. So I'm switching to the armor piercing anyway. We've got a Jervis here on our side, and Jervis is going to hopefully go and scout. So we don't want to get too far ahead. I just want to be in position to start taking the enemy destroyer under fire once he comes around. And the enemy team is playing, I'm shooting my secondaries because I'm bored, which is guaranteed to get you spotted earlier. But other than that, not doing an awful lot. And there is one battleship. Unsurprising, we've got 3 battleships on the other flank. There's the Akatsuki. Jervis smokes and immediately starting to take the Akatsuki under fire. Even if that might not destroy the Akatsuki, but at least it lets him know that he is under fire. He is dropping torpedoes, so I am actually going to... these might have range, so I'm going to have to be a little bit careful. Next things up, now that the Akatsuki has dropped torpedoes and is not really a threat, we are going to play support for the Jervis, because the Jervis is obviously coming under fire from the York, and the York is in the right hands, or can be, a relatively dangerous cruiser. So casually dodge that Akatsuki torp, and then we're going to start taking the York under fire with the armor piercing, while watching out about that Normandy. But it looks... the destroyer on the other side on our team is obviously a bot, so that destroyer is going to go down, which leaves only 1 battleship there. And yes, the Farragut has been sunk, the bot Farragut. So this leaves 4 of us, actually 5 of us here on this flank, if you include the battleship in the center, and only 1 battleship going wide on the other side. There's some York torpedoes, these shouldn't have range, but I'm going to have to keep a careful eye on, because the Akatsuki also was moving over to the other flank. We haven't seen him in a while, so it could be that everything except for that York and that Normandy is heading towards the other side. Now York's coming out of range. There is a bot battleship pushing, so the York is probably going to disengage a little bit, which means our Jervis should be reasonably safe. And at this point I'm deciding, okay, I need to help out on the other flank, because I don't know if that's a bot battleship. No, the bot battleship was on our side here, so these are not bots. But yeah, there's the Akatsuki. You can spot him right there. So there's 3 battleship and an Akatsuki against 2 battleships. So I'm desperately needed on the other side. I cannot be here. So I'm just unloading, but yeah, there's our friendly Leon. I've set 1 fire. Maybe someone can exploit it. But he hasn't taken an awful lot of damage from the Akatsuki, well done, but he is obviously now embattled against a West Virginia and another battleship over there, and has an Akatsuki who's going to be reloaded. So at this point, I am here to help. That's that's what the Shores is very, very good at, because that thing does over 36 knots. I'm going to set a fire on the West Virginia, and just concentrate fire to get, while the Akatsuki is harmless, and dealing with the, yeah, and we've just lost the Leon to the Akatsuki. So that Leon here is now the only thing that stands between the enemy team and the capture circle. So first order of business, let's get that West Virginia pushed away. I'm using the Leon as a shield here, and the Leon, obviously being aware that there's an Akatsuki around here, is not standing still, but is changing position. And it looks like the West Virginia is disengaging, but the Akatsuki is reloaded, and there's also a Nagato over there. Meanwhile, our left flank doesn't look too great. We are 1 kill down, and I need to risk now taking some fire and pass by the Leon, because I need to start hunting that Akatsuki. And at least make sure that this guy, that I spot torpedoes early. Oh, there's the Akatsuki. There come the torpedoes over to the armor piercing. And hopefully Leon's paying attention, but the West Virginia looks good, and even if Leon goes down, then I would still be able to, I should still be able to hold against the Akatsuki. Now Akatsuki is doing the smart thing and is not firing his guns, but is going undetected. So I'm going back to, and it looks like the Leon has taken a bit of damage, but okay, West Virginia is a 1-shot, so I'm going to leave that for him. Leon is now disengaging. And the reason for that is probably that the other flank is threatened, because yes, we've just lost the Pensacola. So there's the Normandy that I've set on fire earlier, and Leon needs to deal with that guy, which means I can probably I'm just going to kill the West Virginia while looking for the Akatsuki. Now the Akatsuki is reloaded. I am spotted. That could have been the West Virginia, but I'm still spotted even after the West Virginia goes down. So there is an Akatsuki hill out here somewhere. So I'm just going to start varying my speed a little bit. I'm going to slow down a little. The Akatsuki was last seen somewhere in this direction. I'm going to speed up a little bit again. And I'm still spotted. As you can see, the Akatsuki, yeah, there come the torpedoes. And they were aimed to where I was going a while ago. So that Akatsuki has gone back towards its own capture circle. But we're still down a kill, and Leon needs to hold against Normandy. That should not be a problem. Normandy is a tier 6 battleship. But our destroyer is now taking on the York and the Nagato over there. And there is still an Akatsuki around. So we're 70 points behind with 1:50 to go. I need to push here. I'm no longer spotted, which means I'm not in detection range of the Akatsuki, which means he is, since I'm almost covered, my surface detection covers almost the entire gap, he is in his own capture circle. So I'm okay. The Leon has equalized, which means we're now equal on points, but that is probably not going to last long, because the Jervis has just fluffed his torpedoes against the York, and that's a York and a Nagato bearing down on him. I'm not going to be able to kill the Nagato, but I am going to be able to kill that Akatsuki. So there he is. Immediately switching targets, and yeah, the Akatsuki is hunting the destroyer as well, because they need the kill. They need that ship dead. We are ahead on points, and I have no idea if that destroyer is going to survive or not. But at this point, I'm committed, and now I'm going against the Akatsuki. Now, what I know about the Akatsuki is that he is firing. He's firing by the book. So I'm slamming her in reverse, assuming that the Akatsuki has fired the torpedoes by now, and there they come, and they go exactly down the road, and the Akatsuki goes straight ahead, which means this is now a very dead Akatsuki. And now all I need to do, that we have cemented this victory, and the Jervis has actually escaped the York. I mean, he might still go down. Destroyers don't have an awful lot of hit points, but it's 30 seconds left, so I'm just going to go bow in against the Nagato. No need risking anything. I'm not going to kill the Nagato anyway. But we're now leading by 70 points, and by 1 kill. And all I need to do is reverse away from that Nagato, farm a little bit more, and yeah, maybe the Leon is still taking out the York, because the Akatsuki is the Jervis on our side is here. Yeah, Leon has taken out the York. Well done, Leon. Great teammate, that Leon has done the exact right thing. And even though we didn't have any communication in game, we have both known exactly at which point we needed where. He knew that he had to change flank. I knew that I needed to change flanks early on to support the Lion against the enemy ships. And once we had the push stalled on the right flank, he knew that he needed to go back onto the, or she, I don't know, knew that that they needed to go back on the left flank and deal with Normandy that had pushed through there, and I had it locked down on the other side. So this sort of, if you meet experienced players in game and you can kind of form this ad hoc team, for me this is one of the best experiences. No matter if you're coming out on top of the team or on the bottom of it, but that sort of play is just amazing to me, and that's kind of what is fun for me in the game. These kind of engagements. Either a really, really good enemy or a really, really good teammate. Anyway, that's it for me today. Thanks everybody, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.